Now, going back again, this is the Pico hole. This is Kahulu Pepeke. Kahulu Pepeke Painu. Just remember our, what's sometimes called type B or Pico hole. And as I said, is a kind of simple rule to remember is that kia, that which is being described, is not the Pico. And that in fact there's a Pico hole. So let's look at, I'm going to go to a very simple kind of process first. So if I had something like this, kawai. Water, kawai. And I would say, water to drink. Water to drink. Water, which one? Water to drink. I'm just going to simplify this, so I'm not going to even tell you who's doing the drinking. I'm just saying water to drink. Now, if you look at this language, to drink, and you would say, is it einu or is it einuai? And this is where the question comes. Is this correct or is this correct? And this is the foundational meaning that you kind of got to understand simply in the Kahulu Pepeke Painu. I know water, that's my kia. Right? Now, if water is the kia, and if it's the Pico, we should kind of realize, is the water doing that action? Is the water going to be doing the drinking? Who's going to do the drinking? Is the water the kia? This is the question. Is the water the Pico? And of course, you would realize, no, the water isn't doing the drinking. The water is what somebody else, ding, 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 somebody else is going to drink. The water is with there's a new Pico. The water, which is the kia, is not the Pico. So to be correct, to say this expression, kawai, to drink, we would say kawai e inuai. I just want you guys to think about it for why is that I there? And let's explain again. Why is this I here? Because kawai, which is the kia, is not the Pico. Okay? Einu means to drink. Who is drinking? Who is going to drink? Who is the Pico? Well, the thing to remember, it's not the water. The water is not the Pico. So sometimes, and many times in our sentences, you might not have the Pico mentioned. In other words, they might not even mention who is actually doing the drinking, but I know incorrect, when I'm going to use the word kawai or vai, water to drink, it's not going to be kawai e inu, but kawai e inuai. Because I know, I pay attention to this relationship. Anytime the kia is not the Pico, it's a type B. And that's the kind of thing to remember. Yeah, let's try another example. If I say kawahine, the woman, how about the woman that was sick? The woman that was sick, and I say sick, oh, is it going to be imai or is it going to be imaiai? This is where people get confused. If I wanted to express again the woman that got sick or is sick now, is there an idea? Well, let's look at it. Imai, to be sick. Well, who is sick? Is the kia the Pico? Is the woman the one that's sick? And of course you would say, oh yeah, the kia is the Pico. Therefore, it's type A. This is correct. Because what this is saying is that this is the woman by which, ding, 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 somebody else. There's a new Pico, somebody else. Or it's the woman that caused perhaps somebody else to get sick. So when people say, oh, I no more I, or is this I always ask the question, is there a new Pico? Who is sick? And if it's not the kia, then it's going to be a type B. It's going to get an I. Let's try an example, another one, right? How about going to say, the dog that was, I don't know, the dog that was bitten. I know that's the dog. I'm talking about the dog that was bitten. That's my kahulu. So ʻŌlelo. And I got to think now, how to express the word was bitten. Well, one of the things we know that's was bitten, was, it tells you there's an E there, that's for sure. Yeah, happened. The expression was bitten now, does it mean, look at that carefully, does it mean bit, to bite, nahu. Bitten, that's the so-called passive, yeah, nahu ia. In nahu ia. Now, is there an I or not? That's the question. Well, let's look at this. Nahu ia, to be bitten. Who was bitten? Was the dog bitten? Is the kia the Pico? And if you look carefully, yeah, the dog is what was bitten. The kia is the Pico, so this is a type A. The kia is the Pico, so therefore it's ʻŌlelo in nahu ia. There's no I. Now, what if I had something was the dog from which the cat was bitten? The dog by which the cat was bitten. In other words, the dog is the reason that, yeah, then that one you would have an I because the cat is what was bitten, not the dog. Yeah, so it always goes back to the relationship between the kia and the Pico. Okay, a little more. Now we're going to add in something else to kind of teach about the so-called, what we call the new Pico. Okay, so if I had something like this in English, the time Keola left. Yeah, the time Keola left. Now you notice that this is not a sentence. This is describing the time. Keola left is describing which time. I might say the time when Keola left, the time that Keola left, the time which Keola left. And those are common hints to remember. Every time you see these words, that, which, and these other common ones, when, why, and how. These are all common signs that this is probably a relative clause in English. Okay, so the time when Keola left. Now, the time, that's my kia. Left, that's my painu. Well, did the time do the leaving? Right? Did the time do the leaving? No. Right? We know there's a new Pico. Ding, 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 which happens to be Keola. So I know it's going to be a type B. Well, let's go through that, yeah? The time, kava, that's my kia. Now, left, that happened, occurred. So I'm going to put I ha'aleleai. Right? And so you're going to say, why is an I there again? Just to go back, because the time is not what left. Yeah, the time is not what left. Erase. Yeah, the time is not what left. It's the, let's get this off. Okay. But it's the time that Keola left. Okay, so what do we do with Keola? Well, I don't want to get too complicated, but generally we have three ways that we express our new Pico. The first is what's called the K-less form. Why do they call it the K-less? Because it doesn't have the K-less possession. So Keola, when I wanted to say that it's Keola did the leaving, we mark Keola a simple way with an A. Kawa a Keola I ha'aleleai. And you might say, why is there an A there? Why not okina o? Well, Keola is not a Pico, right? Keola is actually the so-called Pico of this verb here, ha'alele, which is in the Kahulu Pepeke. So just to rewrite this, you're going to have kava a keola, I ha'alele ai. The time that keola left. Why do we call it K-less? Because it's in a K-less form. Kawa'a keola. Now you notice kawa'a keola, I could make it into a K possessive form. So, ka keola wa I ha'alele ai. Ha'alele ai. So what did we call it K possessive form? Because it's like, but we should know, kawa keola and ka keola wa, same thing. Yeah. The thing to remember, this is where it gets kind of complicated, that va is not a possession, although there's a possession here, it's not a possession of keola. It's not really it's not a real possession. It's not talking about time that belongs to keola, in other words. But it's the time that keola did something. So when you hear that expression K-less and K possessive form, this is what they're talking about. Now, you notice it's an a here. So let me kind of break this down. So let me go back to this a keola part again. The K-less form. So we have the K-less form. We also have what's called the K possessive form. Yeah, ka keola wa. And these are the most common in regards to a particular kind of verb that we, so the things gets more complicated as we start to build is to kind of remember there's a whole bunch of kind of rules or tendencies we got to remember. Or try to remember, I should say. And you get better as time goes on. So the first thing to remember is that K-less and K possessive are both correct. Yeah, this is the K-less form. And this is the K possessive form. Both are correct, both are used. Commonly, it gets a little confusing, but we kind of have to pay attention to our painu here. So you notice ha'alele is actually a VT, a verb transitive. It's an action that's performed onto an object. Yeah, ha'alele, to depart or to leave something. Now, why is that important? Well, generally, and it's kind of, again, generalizations, when you have a VT verb, generally, it's going to be in an A possession form. That's the first thing. Yeah, so let me put this up here. So when you have a VT, generally it's going to be an A possession form, A class. Okay. Now, you might say, oh, but you might say, how come I saw one VT verb, but I saw O? Well, commonly, because you notice the word va here, this is another kind of common thing. So a lot of times when you're talking about time, something to do with time, va, or place, or kahi, place, or reason, kumu. Kumu, you're going to see an O instead of an A years. In other words, if this could be written, ko keola va I ha'alele ai, and I don't want to get too deep into the explanation of some of the ideas of why it's ka versus ko, but for now, just remember it can be ka or it can be ko. Now why ko here? Because of va. Yeah. So you kind of got two competing things. You got a VT here, which is a, and you get time, which is o, and therefore that's why I'm trying to say it can be either or. And there's differences in regards to whether or not something is a lauka or not, and I don't want to get too deep into that right now, but just kind of remember, you can have a or o for now. Yeah. Now generally, that's why I say, but generally, if you have a VT, I mean, if you go with the a, you're never going to be in trouble. That's a thing to remember. Now, there's a third thing, and let me kind of go and clean this up. Erase, and it's a little confusing, but I wanted to show you guys, because especially with other types of painu, so this is the in back, or people sometimes call the number 3 position, or the back position. And this is when you take the Pico, which is keola, and not use it as a K-less or a K possessive, but the number 3. What is number 3? Number 3 means mahope, in back. So it would be this, in fact. Kawa I ha'alele ai. And where does keola go? Keola goes in back. Now, I don't want to get too deep, but generally, this would be rare. Yeah, so I'm going to put rare, or laha ole, kakai kahi, rare. And the reason for it is that, and I'm just going to give you the explanation, you may kind of figure it out, is that when the kia is the lauka, right? When the kia is the lauka, we generally do not do the third way. But if you look at this one, kava I ha'alele ai o keola. If you look carefully, va is not the lauka. Va is the time that keola left. Yeah. For example, if I said kava I ha'alele ai o keola ya kahului. Ya kahului would be the lauka. And again, is the kia the lauka? Nope. So you can do number 3. So for example, in this example here, all 3 would be correct. Kava a keola I ha'alele ai. Ka keola va I ha'alele ai. Kava I ha'alele ai o keola. And so a lot of people are not too familiar with this one here, especially with the hamani, because again, it's not as often, but it is done, especially when you're doing with time, place, and reason. It's common because they're not the lauka. Okay, so let's go look at an example of that. I know we're covering a lot here, but let's try something else. How about the thing she ate. Yeah, the thing she ate. The thing that she ate, the thing which she ate, the thing she ate. Come here. That's my kia. Come here. K-less form. She ate, happened. I. Yeah. She, yeah, again, K-less form of she becomes hers. That belongs to her. K-less form. Ana, I. Again, if it was I ate, yeah, au, I. You ate, au, I. Ani, I. Kimo ate, a kimo, I. Right? This is a K-less form. You should know that, yeah. Kameana, I. What's the K possessive form? Kanamea, I. And how about the third form? Well, remember, I could say Kamea, I, oya. Now, if we look carefully, however, this is where I'm saying, this would be very rare. It does occur, but it's in regards to learning Hawaiian right now, it'll be rare, and that's because kamea is the lauka. What is he or she going to eat? She's going to eat that thing. The thing that so therefore, if the kia is the lauka, meaning the receiver of the action, we generally do not do the third way. That's basically the rule explained. It'll get clearer and clearer as time goes on. Okay, let's try some other examples. Okay, let's try something else. How about the day Keola, I don't know, slapped my face, right? And we should realize the day when Keola slapped my face, this is all describing the day. That's the kahulu. It functions to describe the day. So let's try some examples again. Slap, that's an action. Pa'i, happen. Ipa'iai. So the day, kala. K-less form, Keola. Who's doing the slapping? Keola. Keola. Yeah. Slap, happened. Ipa'iai. And iku'umaka. Again, that's the lauka. Right? What did he slap? Ku'umaka. That's the lauka. So you can see where this is going. Yeah, this is a lauka, iku'umaka. Kala keola ipa'iai ku'umaka. The day, that's my kia, that keola That's the Pico hole. Did what? Slapped. What did he slap? My face. Okay. K possessive. What you need to do is kind of remember, you need to learn all. Yeah, kala akiola is the same as ka kiola la. K less form, K possessive form. I pa iai, iku umaka. And to show you, can you do the third way? Well, if you look at it good, you notice the day here is the day that which does Keola slap the day? Of course not. We notice that there is that the kia is not the lauka. The kia is not the lauka. Therefore, you can do number 3. So just to show you, in this one, it's perfect to say kala, ipa'iai, o Keola, iku umaka. And again, just to go through, because the day is not the lauka. We have a lauka here, umaka. So in this one, this is the third way. Again, K less form, K possessive form, and the one behind. So generally, anytime we do action verbs, yeah, we pay attention. If it's a VT, right, we got to pay attention to lauka. But if it's a VI, right, we know VI doesn't have a lauka. So if VI doesn't have a lauka, can you do all 3 every time? Yes. Yeah, let's do one more, just to show you that. Yeah, so how about something like the place, Keola was sitting, where the place where Keola was sitting yesterday. Yeah, the place where Keola was sitting yesterday. Yeah, so the place, that's my kia. The place, kahi. Yeah, we notice was sitting. Aha, was sitting, past progressive, e noho ana. Noho is what kind of word? Well, it's an action. Is it a VT? No. It's a VI. It's a hehele. It doesn't have a lauka. So I know if there is no lauka, there's not going to be the question of can I do the third? I can do all 3. So kahi, a Keola. And if you had o Keola, that would work too. Was sitting in noho ana. Right? That's the past progress. When? Inehine. And again, this a Keola in noho ana inhe is all describing kahi. Right? That's your kia. That's Kahulu Pepeke, type B, K-less possession form. And again, paying attention, noho is a VI. Yeah, so there is no lauka. Kahia Keola is the same as ko Keola wahi, or ka Keola wahi would be all fine too. E noho ana inehine. That's K possessive form. And the third one, can you do the third one? Yep. You can do the third one. Yeah, kahi, e noho ana, and then o Keola, inehine. So that's a basic general kind of explanation of how to do any kind of action. We're going to come back and look at the non-action verbs.